Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sibme Coach Replay Show. Today, we're bringing back Dr. Stephanie Affinito, one of our elite team members in our virtual coaching team here at Sibme. In addition to coaching for Sibme, Stephanie is a literacy teacher educator and a coach in upstate New York, and the author of Literacy Coaching, Transforming Teaching and Learning with Digital Tools and Technology. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you, Corey. So happy to be here today. This topic is one that's near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've written a whole book on digital tools, which is what we're focusing on today, specifically those tools for coaching to support our work as coaches. So I'm super excited to talk about this today.
Me too.
So Stephanie, I know that technology has an important place in the classroom. In fact, when I was, before Sibme, I was an education specialist in a regional service center down in Texas, in Waco, Texas, and I was on the digital innovation team. So I did a lot of training around integrating technology, blended learning, tech tools for the classroom. But as a coach, right, it's just important to stay current with new technologies, but do I really need them for coaching?
Yes, and yes, and yes. Obviously, I think so, because technology is so integral to the work that I do with my coaching. But one of the main reasons that I think coaches should really embrace these kinds of new technologies and digital tools is for exactly the reason you just mentioned, Corey. Right now, teachers all over are being asked to really amplify and amp up their instruction with digital tools and technology to reflect this kind of changing world that we're in. However, most of us teachers did not actually have a career as a student with that kind of meaningful, authentic technology. And so if we're going to expect teachers to understand how to bring this tech into the classroom, then we have to help them understand it as a learner first themselves. And so that's one of the reasons that I bring it into my coaching so much, is so that we can provide some really good, meaningful, authentic examples for teachers to then use in their classrooms. But beyond the example, there are just so many tech tools out there that can support teacher learning. We have tech tools that can help connect us together and reduce isolation across our classroom walls. There's tech tools that can help us get new ideas, new lesson plans, new ways of thinking. And there's lots of tools out there to increase collaboration and to really make teaching and teacher learning a more connected, authentic, meaningful kind of experience. And if I can throw one more reason in there of why we should think about tech tools, is because it really can help streamline our coaching and make it a little bit easier. There are so many tools that can help us manage our calendars, that can help us with our to-do lists, with connecting across multiple districts, and tools that can help us collaborate a little bit more easier with technology.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we strive to do here at Sibme, is create that technology solution to allow people not only to record and reflect, but to collaborate. It really is a learning space, and that's powerful. And I love that you talked about the meaningfulness and authenticity of both in the classroom and for teachers. That was always one of the things that I talked about when we talked about choosing digital tools, was it's got to be meaningful, and try it out as a teacher, because you're a learner just like your students, but then really helping you to figure out how you might use it and expand the possibilities. And you might even find your students might find additional uses than you had. So
Nice.
there's so much out there. Yeah, there's so much out there. There are things that, we see a lot of hype about, like Flipgrid Fever. I know that's one that you like. We're not talking about that one today, but that is one of my favorites as well. And there's so many of them. How do you even begin to go about choosing tech tools for your work?
That can be the hard part, because as you mentioned, if you did a quick Google search for tech tools to help coaching, hundreds of apps could come up, or tech tools for literacy instruction, tech tools for math. It goes on and on and on. And so I have one golden rule that I recommend that everyone follow, whether you're a coach or a teacher or in a different educational position. And that's 4 simple words: privilege pedagogy over technology. So what we do, our coaching, our teaching, our learning, should drive the choices we make around technology. It should support our work. It should help our work. It shouldn't make it more difficult. It shouldn't make it something that we think we have to do because we need to get technology in there. And just because it's new and shiny doesn't mean that it might support your coaching work. Mm-hmm. And so you want to think about, what are the things that you do in your unique coaching role? If you spend a lot of time creating professional development for teachers, then you'll want to choose technology tools that can help maybe streamline your planning, that can help make your professional learning sessions more engaging, and to help you learn about your teachers. But if you're a coach that mainly spends their time doing coaching cycles in the classroom, then the technology you choose might help you better connect with those teachers or help you do co-planning and collaborative lesson work together. So you want to think about what your role as a coach is and what need you want to fill, and then go to the technology to help you do that, not the other way around.
Right, right. Yeah, so definitely thinking about that purpose-driven work. We talk a lot about purpose here at Sibme as well. It's the same thing that we tell our teachers when they're trying to choose technology. It's, there's lots of different things you can do, but think first about the task at hand, the immediate need that you have, and probably even prioritize that. There's a million things we do as coaches. Where do I spend most of my time? Maybe might I need a little bit more efficiency or better collection of data? Kind of thinking through those top priorities first, which will help you kind of follow through and going through that learning curve of a new technology as well.
Absolutely.
So Stephanie, what are some of your favorite tools for coaching? I'm excited to hear a few that you share.
Well, we only have a few minutes, so I couldn't pack in as many as I would have loved. So I've chosen my top 3 at the moment.
Okay.
I'm going to share Padlet, I'm going to share Google Forms, and I'm going to share Canva with you. And I'm going to start with Padlet. And Padlet is pretty well known at this point. But if it is new to you, it is a digital bulletin board of sorts where you can add different tiles to your bulletin board that might be resources for teachers or book titles, curriculum, whatever kinds of things you want to connect and curate together. Padlet offers you a way to do that digitally. And so you can see on the screen here, this is one example that I have. Because I work with multiple schools and even multiple districts, I like to share things widely, but I don't want to have to keep reinventing the wheel every time I do it. And so I create multiple Padlet walls that can help give resources to any teacher in any school by just sending a quick email or even linking to it on my website as a coach. So this one here that you see is a Padlet wall that houses lots of different digital text. So if you're looking for books online, ebooks, passages, I've collected and curated them as I find them, and then I can easily send them off to the teachers that I work with. Mm-hmm. And another example that is on sketchnoting. One of my other favorite things to do as a coach, if I don't have a tech tool in my hand, I have a Sharpie and a sticky note, and I do some sketchnoting. And so I've curated a collection of those resources. I love working with teachers to bring sketchnoting into the classroom, especially to help student understanding and comprehension. And so these resources I just pulled together as I get new ones, and then I can send them off to teachers. Now, the nice thing is that teachers do not need to have a Padlet account in order to enjoy the content on Padlet. Mm-hmm. But if they want to save the Padlet, they can click the little heart that's up in the top right corner. And then every time you add a tile to your Padlet wall, the teacher will also get that new tile so that you're not having to update and resend all of your materials over and over again. These two Padlet walls that you're looking at were mine that I created that I add to only. But I also have Padlet walls where I invite teams of teachers to contribute. You know, what sketchnoting resources do you have? Go ahead and add them to the tile. So it can not only be a place to share resources, but to help teachers collaborate around creating them together.
And you can comment on those tiles as well, or that's a feature that you can turn on for some of the Padlet boards that you create, right?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I see that.
Yep, I've got one here. You can also add a feature where teachers could like or rate on a scale of 1 to 5 how they feel about that resource as well. So you can build a nice little community around these resources as well.
Yeah, I love that. And so I know Padlet, when I first started, I mean, I've been using Padlet off and on for years now, really when it first got started, and it was free when it first got started. Is it still free to create your own?
It is free for 3 boards only, unfortunately.
That's a great start though, right? That's a really good start. I mean, that gets you all year.
Yeah, and if I have 2 little hacks that I like to use for that. So there is a way to export your walls. So if you've created a wall and you're done using it and you're ready to recycle it so that you can start another one and have 3 Padlets at any time, you can export all of your resources as a PDF. And then that way you can still have a collection of them in some form. And the other thing that I tend to do a lot of is to create a single Padlet wall that has multiple shelves. So I could have one very large Padlet wall that simply says Stephanie's literacy coaching, and one shelf could be all of my sketchnoting tiles. The next shelf could be my digital text tiles. The next shelf could be mentor text for writing. And you can have as many shelves as you'd like in that single Padlet. And that helps teachers get the most out of Padlet if they're still using the free account.
Yeah, like a one-stop shop, like a digital home base is kind of how I've used it in the past. I love that. You know, now that I'm seeing yours and talking about a few of these, this always happens to me with Padlet. I'll use it really well for a while, and then I'll kind of step away into some other things. I'll get busy. Now I'm going to be using Padlet again. So watch out, people. If you work with me, I'm sending you a Padlet soon, because it really does answer some of the things that, you know, recently I've had some people who have said, you know, is there a single place to go and get, like, we recommend and use resources from all over the place. And so this would be great and much prettier and more functional, I think, than just a PDF, right? Where you just put links to things. So I like the visual, the aesthetics of the Padlet a lot.
I do as well.
Yeah. All right, so then let's talk about your next tool, which is Google Forms. Tell me a little bit about how you use this in coaching.
Okay, so in my coaching work, I plan a lot of professional development for multiple schools, multiple districts, lots and lots of teachers. And one of the ways that I use Google Forms is to make sure I'm creating a professional learning session that is actually going to meet the needs of that particular group of teachers. So sometimes I'm going into schools as a coach and I'm working with a new group of teachers that I might not know very well yet. And Google Forms lets me survey them very quickly, very easily, and very quickly and easily for them as well, so that I can learn more about them. Basic things like the grade levels they teach, the topics they're hoping to explore, but then I can also go deeper and ask them, what about those topics are you hoping to learn about in our time together? Or rate your familiarity with something like running records or writing workshop, so that I can get an idea of where the teachers are and where they're coming from, so that I can better plan a session that works for them. And so that's one of my favorite ways to use Google Forms, is to just learn more, so that I'm making sure I'm creating something that's going to work for them. And I have here, oh, there goes the screen. So I have here on my screen, I'm going to go to the survey first. You can see I've asked this group of teachers, which is a group of K2 teachers, you know, I'm coming back in a couple of weeks. What are some of the things that you're hoping to accomplish? And I listed some of the topics that I know had been brought up before. I'd ask them to check the kinds of tools they were hoping to explore. This was a K2 session on integrating technology into the classroom. And then just a very simple text response of what I'm hoping, or what they're hoping they're going to walk away from in the session. Now, what I love about Google Forms is that it does all of the data analysis for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to click a little tab, and I have, oh, where'd it go? There we go. The responses very nicely projected so that I can see what is it they were hoping to learn about.
Mm-hmm.
How many people checked how many tools, so that I'm making sure I'm creating a presentation that meets their needs. And then we have responses if they're really hoping for something specific. So I got a good sense of who they were and what they wanted to do, so that I could plan a session that I know would be well received and helpful. I've also got another example. I'll just switch to this tab, where this wasn't a survey before the professional development, but it was an entrance ticket survey. And as teachers walked into the room, they had this projected up on the screen. They logged in, they scanned a QR code, some typed a bit.ly address in there. And I just decided to learn more about them at the outset. What is their primary role? Who was coming with a team of educators? Why did they happen to choose my session today? What were they hoping to do? And since this was a group of coaches, I asked them what they felt their biggest obstacle was, so that I knew what they might want to tackle in that session that day. And so my responses here can show you who was in the audience.
I love that pie chart.
I love the pie charts, and I didn't have to do anything to and then what brought them here? Mm-hmm. So those entrance tickets, even though your session might be planned, it can help you tailor little decisions made throughout the session to make sure that it meets their needs.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that's powerful, because even if we aren't, you're doing more of a outside kind of consulting role with these individuals, where you aren't there on the, and that's a lot of what I did and do now. But even if you're housed on a campus and you're with your teachers every day, everybody's busy and pulled in a million different directions. You're probably running some kind of team PLC, or, even those data meetings, and you can utilize these just as a quick way to kind of survey everybody that you may have run into in the hall, but you haven't really sat down and talked to in a couple of weeks out to the particular topic. One of my coach friends, I was telling you about this before we started recording today, Kenny McKee. He is an awesome coach, and one of my favorite ideas that he shared on his Twitter, I think it was the beginning of this year, it might have been last year, is he sends out a Google form as an enrollment process. So the way that he does his coaching on his campus is, it's not voluntold like it is a lot of places where he's kind of told, go work with these people. He definitely has some educators that he's working with because they need some additional support based off of their data. But he has this volunteer and open enrollment kind of coaching that happens. And so when someone, maybe they go to a session and they want some more help, actually applying some of those things, or, he's getting ready to open another cycle and I've got 3 spots to coach. He has the Google form so they can fill that out and say, here's what I'm wanting to focus on. Here's where I think I might need your help the most. And so he can really kind of start off on the right foot with those teachers. And it's a way to get their voice, right? Teacher voice and choice is powerful. So
right.
I love that.
I do.
I love it. Yeah. And I really love the data analysis that can kind of quickly happen. You can export those responses into a sheet, a Google sheet, but you can also just look at these pretty graphics that it automatically creates, which is nice.
And I also like to project them on the screen during the session so that they can see why I've made the choices that I've made, that I'm really trying to tailor it to them. And they do appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely a good move in presenting. All right, so your third tool is Canva, which, by the way, I use a lot. Every week I'm using that. That's what I create our coach replay images with, is Canva. So I'm excited for you to talk about this one with coaching for sure.
Yeah. Well, because as you can tell throughout this video, much of my work focuses on professional learning sessions and professional development. I'm creating a lot of presentations. And I have an unfortunate habit of tending to load too much information on a slide at a time. I try to pack it all in, and I'm working on it. It's one of my goals is to do less text, more images, to spark some thinking. And so Canva is a tool that helps me do that. It is a place where coaches can go and they can create almost anything. It can be slides for a presentation. It can be just an image for a website. It can be a banner for your social media profile. Any kind of graphic you want to create, Canva has a template for you. The great part is that you don't need any technology prowess in order to do it. So you can pick the template that looks and feels like the kind of slide you want to have. You pop in your text. There's limited room for text. So this is what forces me to really think about the big ideas I want to convey. And then it gives you a couple of options to stylize it. Play around with font, color, borders, and frames. And it really helps the information pop out and be better received rather than just a slide full of text that people are reading through. So it jazzes up PD a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, if there's things that teachers really like, they like a particular graphic organizer. I mean, you can, like you said, make it look really polished and professional pretty quickly as well. And then they've got something great to use in their classroom. So I haven't played too much with the Canva slides. I do a lot of social media type graphics with mine. I don't use it much in my coaching, but I'm gonna take that spin on it now. I think.
Yes,
I like that.
you should.
Yeah.
I tend to create the graphics as social media graphics because there's a lot of options, and then just copy and paste it right into the slide. Show that
right into it. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, these are all great tools and obviously some of my favorites as well. I'm the same way. Like as we're talking, I'm like, oh, we should have said this one and we could have talked about this one. Maybe we need like a tech tool Tuesday or something.
That would be
collaborate on that. That would be fun. We might talk about that more after this episode. So, so any final takeaways for our viewers, Stephanie?
Well, I think because as we're talking, we're generating lots of ideas. We are thinking about even more tech tools that we could probably use. I just want to remind everybody about that golden rule I started with, that these tools might look really great, but if they don't help you in your coaching right now, it's okay not to try them. It's okay not to use them. You want to make sure that you're privileging your coaching work first and using the technology tools to help support that. Not just bringing it in because you think you should, because someone showed you an idea, but really thinking about choosing it if it can help what you're doing. And I think the next kind of thing I would want coaches to think about is in choosing tools that can have more than one purpose. So using the tools flexibly. So if you're using Padlet, I can't keep these things in my ears today. If you're using Padlet, then for a way to curate resources for teachers, then you might think about, rather than trying a new tool, is there a different way you could use Padlet to show teachers how to be flexible with their technology use in the classroom as well? That way you're not getting overwhelmed with so many tools. You're being very intentional and strategic in how you're using them.
Right. And definitely modeling that for our teachers as well, for sure. Yeah. Well, those are some great takeaways, Stephanie. Thanks so much. It was good conversation today. So thanks for joining us again today, Stephanie.
Oh, happy to be here. We'll definitely have to talk about Tech Tuesday or something like that.
Yeah, I think that could be a thing. We could make that happen. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for joining us for another episode of the Sibme Coach Replay Show, and tune in next Friday for another one. Have a great day, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.